1. They move through the world without signaling. You pass them in the street and nothing about them asks for attention. Plain jacket, simple shoes, maybe a small watch that looks older than it is, or no logos shouting from fabric. Yet the person walking past you may control companies or properties and has got investments quietly growing somewhere in the background. And that contrast is intentional. People who've handled serious money for a long time learn that visibility invites questions, and questions invite expectations. Then expectations invite people who suddenly need things from you. So the outward life becomes quiet, not poor and not careless, just deliberately unremarkable. And once you notice this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. The wealthiest person in the room is often the one nobody paid attention to when they walked in. 2. They understand how quickly money changes people. There's usually a moment when someone with money realizes that people behave differently once they know. A conversation that used to feel normal suddenly becomes careful. Old friends start bringing up business ideas. Someone asks for a small loan. A distant cousin suddenly remembers your number, and it doesn't always come from bad intentions. Sometimes it's just human nature. Money changes the emotional temperature of a room, so some wealthy people solve that problem in a quiet way. They remove the signal, they dress down, they keep details vague, and they allow others to assume they're just doing fine. Life becomes calmer that way. And before we keep going, if you enjoy breaking down human behavior like this, subscribe to the channel. Most of what we talk about here is the psychology behind things people rarely say out loud. Now there's another layer to this, because hiding wealth isn't only about other people. Sometimes it's about protecting your own freedom. 3. They don't want their life turned into a performance. The moment wealth becomes visible, a strange pressure appears. You have to maintain the image. The car can't be older than a year, or every vacation must look more impressive than the previous one. Your life slowly turns into a display, and displays require constant upgrades. Some people enjoy that game. Others step away from it completely. They choose the quiet route. Comfortable homes that aren't meant for showing off, reliable cars that simply work, and clothes get chosen for ease, not attention, because when you remove the audience, life becomes easier to live. 4. They learn how fast luxury stops feeling special. The first time someone sleeps in an expensive hotel, the experience feels almost surreal. Soft lighting, crisp sheets, and perfect service. But repetition does something strange to the brain. By the 10th time, it's pleasant. But by the 100th, it's routine, and the emotional charge fades. Many people who've lived with wealth for years realize this. The thrill of visible luxury burns out faster than most people expect. So instead of chasing louder displays, some scale everything back. They keep comfort where it matters, but they stop performing it. The private life stays rich, but the public life becomes surprisingly ordinary. 5. They use simplicity as a social filter. When someone appears wealthy, conversations change immediately. People try harder to impress them, or flatter them, or position themselves closer to the money. But when someone looks ordinary, none of that happens. People speak freely, and they behave the way they normally would. And that gives a wealthy person something extremely useful. Clarity. They get to see who people are before money enters the equation, who respects them, who ignores them, who suddenly becomes interested when the truth comes out later. Looking modest becomes a quiet way of studying the room. 6. They grew up around money that didn't need to shout. In families where wealth has existed for generations, the culture around it tends to look different. Children grow up watching adults who already know their position. There's nothing to prove, nothing to announce. So the habits become subtle. Clothes that last a long time. Homes that feel comfortable but not theatrical. Money discussed privately, not displayed publicly. For them, restraint isn't a strategy. It's just normal behavior. The opposite is loud spending. Constant display actually looks strange from that perspective, almost like someone trying too hard to convince the world of something. 7. They know attention attracts risk. Money that becomes visible does more than attract curiosity. It attracts problems, legal trouble, unwanted scrutiny, and people studying how you live. The more visible the wealth, the more eyes begin watching it. So some individuals treat privacy like an asset. They keep their lifestyle simple in public spaces. The expensive things stay behind closed doors. 8. They value control more than impressing strangers. There's a certain freedom that comes from not needing anyone to be impressed. No pressure to compete with neighbors. Or no need to update everything the moment a new version appears. Just control over your time, your space, and your decisions. And control is often far more satisfying than applause. Some wealthy people figure this out early. Others only realize it after years of chasing status. Either way, the result looks the same from the outside. a life that appears simple but runs exactly the way they want it to. 9. They know that real security is quiet. Noise attracts attention, and attention attracts comparison. Then comparison attracts competition. But quiet security doesn't need any of that. It moves slowly, investments compounding somewhere in the background, assets growing over decades, decisions made with long-time horizons. Nothing flashy, nothing rushed, just steady movement that most people never notice. And sometimes the people building the largest foundations are the ones nobody thinks to look at twice. 10. They just don't care about being seen. Some wealthy individuals simply stop caring about appearances, not as a strategy, just as a personal choice. They've already experienced the things money can buy. The novelty wore off, so they drift toward whatever feels comfortable, quiet, and easy. And from the outside, it can look confusing, because we're used to assuming wealth should always look dramatic. But often the opposite is true. Sometimes the richest person in the room is the one drinking coffee quietly in the corner, wearing the most forgettable jacket in the building. If you made it this far, I'm curious about something. Have you ever met someone who looked completely ordinary and only later realized they were extremely wealthy? Tell me what gave it away. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, leave a like. It helps more people find the channel and keeps these psychology deep dives coming.